Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Alina Islam, and I'm a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. I'm very pleased to present Lake Victoria Gold to you today. They are focused on advancing the Imwelo and Tembo gold projects in Tanzania. To give you an overview of the company as well as discuss upcoming plans, we have Mark Cernovich, CEO, and Simon Benstead, CFO from the company. Once the presentation is over, we will conclude with a Q&A session, so please put your questions into the chat box in the comment section, and we'll get through as many as we can at the end. Before we get started, I do need to mention the fine print. For Lake Victoria Gold, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this webinar. Please read the cautionary note on page 2 of the Lake Victoria corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this webinar does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Mark and Simon. Please take it away.
Great. Thank you very much, Alina. And thank you to the viewers for taking the time to learn a little bit more about Lake Victoria Gold today. As Alina said, I'm Simon Benstead, Executive Chairman and CFO, and you're joined by my partner, Mark Cernovich, who's CEO. Lake Victoria Gold is an explorer, developer, and near-term producer in Tanzania. We have several competitive advantages and a strategy of growth and consolidation. And it positions LVG well to deliver shareholder value over the next year and beyond. Today, we will discuss our path to near-term production and the excitement over our blue sky exploration opportunities. We'll talk about our world-class partners, namely Barrick Gold and the Taifa Group, owned by one of the wealthiest and most influential private citizens in Tanzania. Tanzania is a stable jurisdiction that's friendly and supportive of mining. Barrick is by far the largest contributor to the Tanzanian treasury. We have a clean balance sheet, a very closely held cap table, and with management and insiders holding a significant amount of shares. We very recently closed a $6 million life financing, and we believe that we are very well positioned for a re-rating as we advance both projects. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mark. Or I could talk about Tanzania here, Mark, for a moment.
Yeah, sure.
So just briefly about Tanzania, it's really emerging as the jewel of Africa, or certainly one of the jewels of Africa. It has a track record of 60 years of relatively stable democracy. It's governed by English common law and has proven itself to be very friendly and supportive of the mining industry in general. I mentioned in my opening remarks that Barrick is the largest contributor to the Tanzanian treasury. Anglo Gold Ashanti operates the most prolific mine in Tanzania called Geita. And most notably, I would say, a very, very positive sign of the international investment flowing into Tanzania would be the recent acquisition of the Nyanzaga project in Tanzania by the Perseus Group for $250 million. And their very recently announced final investment decision of $600 million to advance that project into production in partnership with the Tanzanian government.
Yeah. And if I can just, thanks, Simon. I'm Mark Cernovich, President, CEO, as well as Director. Just to add a little bit on Tanzania, particularly from a gold mining perspective, there's been a number of recent updates to the mining code, but essentially there's a 6% royalty on gold production. That falls to 4% if one takes advantage of the new refining capacity in Tanzania, which we are planning to do on both our projects. There's a 30% corporate tax rate. So overall, as well as a minimum 16% free carried interest for the government. So overall, including all taxes. There's about a 50% state participation rate, which is within the normal range for developing countries. So jumping into our Imwelo project, this is a new acquisition for Lake Victoria Gold. We closed on the acquisition in earlier this year. The project was developed by a private Australian company over the last decade. As part of the acquisition, we renewed the mining license for 10 years. The project is located 12 kilometers due west of Tanzania's largest producing gold mine, which is Anglo Ashanti's Geita gold mine, which produces, in and around 400,000 ounces a year. And it's the same geological package that trends east-west that we're seeing at Imwelo. What attracted us to Imwelo was that it is fully permitted. It benefits from an initial resource estimate, JORC-compliant resource estimate in 2014, pre-feasibility study in 2017, and then updated pre-feasibility study in 2021, and is effectively shovel ready for construction. Some small resource at the moment of just under 300,000 ounces, which is primarily located in a series of small pits, and that's what we're planning on doing, is starting production open pit and then ramping underground, similar to what Anglo has done at Geita at a later date. So in the pits, we're looking at an average grade of about 2.25. So some reasonable grades, but the first pit, which we'll talk about in more detail in a minute, which effectively pays for the capex, it's about a 2-year payback, is at a very nice grade of 3.7 grams. So at this stage, the processing plant and design has been complete. We're in the process of completing final engineering with the completion of this recent financing. The open pit, the mine plan for the first 10 years is complete. As I mentioned earlier, fully permitted. We recently had to update our environmental assessment, and that was received about a month ago, and we press released that. We've also, the last kind of a bureaucratic or government checkpoint that we need to move through is finalizing the framework agreement for the government's free carried interest. I participated in those negotiations about a month ago in Tanzania, and we're just finalizing that paperwork. So the initial plan is to start production at about 12,000 ounces per annum, or a run rate of 500 tons per day, and then growing that to 25,000 ounces per day in year 3. I should mention that the front end of the plant, namely the ball mill and the crushing circuits, are being designed and installed to be able to incorporate and grow to that 1,000 tons per day. Based on the 21 feasibility study, which was done at $1,800 gold, we're looking at about an all-in sustaining cost of between $1,400 and $1,500 gold. So at present day gold prices, we're looking at some potentially very attractive margins. The first pit area where we're planning on starting production was where we're carrying out some work right now, is Area C. That's currently about the first 18 to 24 months of production. Looking at a total capex of roughly $15 million US for the build of the plant. and a 12-month schedule from the start of construction, which we're planning to do in early 26, but a 12-month construction time from the commencement of construction to first gold pour. I should mention that we have a term sheet signed with a U.S. group called Monetary Metals to fund this CapEx through a up to 7,000 ounce gold prepay forward purchase facility, or effectively a gold loan. We signed that term sheet at about $2,000 gold ago, so we won't be needing nearly the 7,000 ounces, probably closer to 5. And we're just in the process of revising those terms with Monetary Metals. So as Simon mentioned, we just closed on the life offering. The primary use of proceeds from that offering is advancing Imwelo to the commencement of construction. I should mention that the longest lead item in that 12-month period is the ball mill. We have already purchased the ball mill. It's about 75% complete. And a chunk of the use of proceeds went to pay for that. But the focus of effectively the next several months is on moving Imwelo to the commencement of production, and is primarily a drill program. It's worth mentioning that the previous owners and operators of Imwelo, as I mentioned, were a private Australian group, and they were really focused on just developing enough resource to justify that production decision. So average drill depth across the property is only about 44 meters, with the deepest hole being 70 meters. If you look at similar deposits, Gaeta 12 kilometers to the west, I mean, they're mining down to 350, 400 meters. Most of the deposits in the Lake Victoria Greenstone Belt tend to go quite deep, minimum of 1,000 meters. With grade tending to get better at depth. So the previous operators really only scratched the surface. So we believe that there's some very good upside and the potential to nominally double the resource very quickly. So the focus of the current drill program, which we started about 10 days ago, is it's a little bit of infill drilling and resource conversions. But primarily looking at the potential at depth, because they as I mentioned, they've only really drilled down to about 50 meters. And since we plan on going underground, we want to test that depth potential, as well as some geotechnical drilling for final pit design and optimization. As well, the deposit, there's been 3 metallurgical tests done previously. But we're looking to do one more because the deposit is made up of an oxide zone, which is primarily the open pit area, as well as a transition zone. And then when you go underground, you're into sulfides. So we're looking to do an additional met test on that transition zone because we will be scratching it at the bottom of the planned pits. Concurrent to that is updating the resource model, completing the balance of engineering so that we're at the issued for construction's drawing point, as well as updating all the capital and operating costs to current pricing, as well as appointing an EPCM contractor, which we are in the final stages of doing. So just in terms of the potential results from this drill program, it's primarily testing the potential at depth, but we're also doing a little bit of step out drilling to the west of the pits. There's a significant fault system where we believe mineralization has been displaced about 75 meters to the north. So we're doing a series of holes to the west with the hope of being able to grow the pit area. We're expecting, this is a 24-hole program. We're expecting to announce first drill holes sometime next week. And then we can expect to see drill results, every 7 to 10 days thereafter. Currently drilling with one rig, and a second rig arriving in about the next 10 days, with the goal of having all of the work I've just discussed completed by the end of the year.
Just one thing, Mark, on Imwelo before we move on to Tembo. I think it's important for the viewers to understand how advanced that project is. When we acquired the Imwelo project from the Australian group that Mark referred to, the CEO and mining engineer of that group is Seth Dickinson. He's now our COO. So while we acquired the project, we also essentially acquired the developer of the project, his team, and his camp. So the project really is shovel ready and ready to go.
Yeah, terrific. Thanks, Simon. So on to Tembo, which is Lake Victoria Gold's legacy project. But it's an advanced exploration asset. We've completed over 50,000 meters of drilling. The project lies contiguous. The claim in blue here is Barrick's Bully and Hulu deposit, which is a 20 million ounce deposit. It's the largest deposit in Tanzania. Bully is a phenomenal deposit. It has a strike length of about 1 kilometer at surface, and it's effectively a vertical, subvertical, narrow vein structure that varies between 2 and 4 meters. But a kilometer strike length at surface, down to about 1,000 meters, below 1,000 meters down to about 2,000 meters, which is the deepest drilling that's been done, and they still haven't found the bottom of it. But the deposit in a northwest trending direction grows to over 5 kilometers. And grade is a little bit erratic at the top of the system in the first couple hundred meters, but below 200 meters, the grade is continuously over 20 grams and incredibly consistent. David Scott, our head geo and Tanzanian managing director, was part of the Barrick team that when they acquired the deposit, grew it from 3 million ounces to over 15 million ounces in 18 months. Whereas in some of those deeper holes, they were adding over 250,000 ounces of ounces per drill hole. So we've done about 50,000 meters of drilling, as I mentioned, primarily on 3 target areas, being Ngula 1, Nakagwe Village, and Nakagwe East. But again, have really just scratched the surface here. Our drilling, between the 3 of them, we have about 2,600 meters of strike length, and all 3 of those target areas are open in all directions. But all of our drilling has been focused in that, that first 200 meters. Our deepest hole, which was our best hole, TDD 0041, encountered 22 grams over 15 meters. So some truly kind of bonanza grade results at Tembo. Structurally, something a little bit different is going on as the geological package comes into the Tembo ground, because whereas Barrick and the Bully reefs are only mineralized in northwest trending directions and are 2 to 4 meters wide, as that package comes into our ground, we're seeing mineralized structures that are east-west trending and northeast trending, as well as the predominantly northwest trending ones. And where they intercept, we end up with these blowout zones, much wider intercepts of up to 30 meters, not all at double-digit grades. But for example, 30 meters of 3-4 grams lots of 10, 12 meters at between 8 and 9, 10 grams. So the potential for starter pits, and then as one looks at going underground, the potential for some bulk mining methods in these high-grade, much wider chutes. So we originally owned all this ground, almost 200 square kilometers. But we have just retained what's in that yellow claim, which is where we've done all our work. In late 21, 22, we did a very interesting transaction with Barrick, where we sold them 6 of our non-core claims, we had done virtually no work, and it's quite an interesting transaction, where we sold them those 6 claims for $6 million US. But retain significant upside in that we get paid on discovery, not production, but discovery on the first 5 million ounces that they discover on those claims. And that's on a sliding scale of $20 an ounce on the first million, 10 on the second, and then 5 thereafter. As part of the transaction, Barrick had to commit to spending a minimum of $9 million during the first 4 years. And the initial resource estimate is due after that 4 years. There is no end date for this transaction, so potential contingent payments of up to $45 million. Also, very importantly, is we have a data sharing agreement with them, where they need to share all data with us, and we're allowed to release it to the market on a quarterly basis. Concurrent with that transaction, Barrick made a private placement, which was done at 27 cents, and that's why they're on the cap table. This is a representation of a Barrick slide, just showing where they're focused and working and drilling. As you can see, it's predominantly right up against the border of the claim that we retained. An interesting, near-term production opportunity has recently presented itself at Tembo. We have within our claim and regionally as well, there's quite a bit of artisanal activity, and there's a local group who has been operating for the last several years, running a small 120 ton per day CIP plant, primarily processing artisanal tailings, who are just in the final stages of completing a significant upgrade to that facility, where they're adding a 500 ton per day CIP plant. And they originally had a deal struck with some local miners for ore feed, which has since fallen apart. So they approached us to essentially transact and look at a toll milling agreement to feed their plant, which is in the final stages of construction. So we've signed an LOI with them and are continuing negotiations, but with the view of doing a small drill program on one of our targets. We've identified it as Ngula 1 because it has the best intercepts and is the one we can move to production the quickest. But the potential that we could be producing on a toll milling basis very quickly through this NIID plant. So some interesting news to come in the coming weeks and months as we finalize those negotiations. Just a little bit about leadership. You've met Simon and I. As he mentioned, Seth Dickinson is now our Chief Operating Officer. Seth is a mining engineer, has brought 2 projects into production in Australia, and has now relocated to Tanzania and is in Tanzania full time and is leading the development currently at Imwelo, and assuming Tembo moves forward, then he would be leading that development as well. David Scott is our head geo. David originally is a South African geologist, originally relocated to Tanzania when Barrick bought Bulyanhulu. He spent 4 years with them through the resource expansion, feasibility, construction, and commissioning in the first couple of years of Bully operations. He then moved over to Shanta Gold, who was an AIM-listed developer, and was with them as managing director, bringing their first mine into production as well. So David's been in country for almost 30 years. Hendrik Meering is our exploration manager. He and David worked together at Bully. And Hendrik has been, head geo and senior geo for a number of the majors throughout Africa, and has tremendous experience in greenstone belts. Simon, you want to close it?
Yeah, I think the only person you missed there who's worth mentioning, Mark, is Richard Reynolds. Just for the benefit of our viewers, we talked about Rostam Aziz, who is one of the wealthiest and most influential private citizens in Tanzania, who also owns the largest mining contracting business in Tanzania. So is as dialed into the gold business as anybody. The former CEO of the Taifa Group, Richard Reynolds, now serves on Lake Victoria Gold's board, which gives us, a more of an intimate relationship with Richard, Rostam, and their team as we look to grow. And in summary, LVG has a clear path to production, which will act as a foundation from which to build. We have ambitious plans in Tanzania. There's a lot of very interesting assets that we're looking at, assets that have been maybe mismanaged, if I may say, and that are orphaned, and we're looking to bring these into our portfolio and make a family of these assets, because there's a lot of value to be had. You have a highly experienced management team, and that management team has their interests very much aligned with shareholders. We benefit as shareholders benefit, and that's the way we like it. And we think we're very, very well positioned here for a re-rating as we advance these projects towards production. And today the stock is trading at 17.5 cents, which is where we closed the private placement. I'll remind you that Barrick paid 27 cents for 5.5 million shares, and Rostam Aziz paid 22 cents for 16 million shares just a few months ago. So we do view this as a great buying opportunity. And with that, I'll thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
Thanks a lot, Mark and Simon. So we can get started on the questions now. Just as a reminder to everyone on the line, you can type your questions into the comment section in the chat box at any time. So a couple of questions here already. I guess on Imwelo, you talked about depth, Mark, and just wondering that 4,000 meter program, how deep are you planning to go with those holes?
Yeah, good question. I missed that in the presentation. So we are looking at doing 2 fences underneath that Area C pit, one targeting intercepting mineralization around 120, 130 meters, and then assuming we're successful there, then a second fence looking to target mineralization at about between 225 and 250. So the potential to almost double the size of the resource. And logic would dictate that if mineralization continues at the Area C pit, then it does throughout the rest of the deposit. And we would obviously be looking to do some follow-up drilling at depth underneath the rest of the deposit.
Okay, another question on the prepay facility. So that gold that has to be delivered, does it have to be done by a certain date?
Yeah. It's you think of this as a gold loan, but yeah, it's a 3-year term. Without going into too much of the intricacies on how the transaction works, because we're still finalizing it. but effectively we pay it back in 2 years. It's a 2-year payback. At if you model things at a $3,200 gold price, the project pays for itself in 22 months, and they get paid back.
Okay. Moving on to Tembo, there's a question here, and I'm just going to summarize it. So it looks like there's a resource estimate on Tembo, and in one of your press releases, it mentioned that you would release it to the market in 6 to 8 weeks. So I guess the question is this resource estimate known to the shareholders in the company, Barrick and Taifa Group?
No. We had planned a resource estimate, which we and this was a couple of years back. We had planned a resource estimate. We paused completing it because it looked like we were going to do an incremental transaction with Barrick, and there wasn't a point in doing it. That transaction did not get consummated. But we've actually just restarted, re-engaged the consultant to complete that resource estimate, and there'll be news out in the coming weeks on exactly when we can expect it. But it was almost complete, so we should be seeing a resource estimate on the Tembo property before year end.
Okay. Another question on the tax rate that you mentioned. Is that a 50% tax on profits?
No. So it's when I talked about 50%, that's all in government participation. The Tanzanian government targets having a participation of 50% of the economics for natural resources. So that includes the corporate tax rate, which is 30%, but that would include VAT, their carried interest, payroll taxes. So it's all the contributions that a project brings. The royalties as well. Their goal is to essentially get 50% of the economics, which is in range of what you see in the normal range of what you see for most developed countries. But the corporate tax rate is 30% on profits.
Next question. Has there been any talk of moving from the TSXV into the TSX at all?
There have been a number of discussions of uplisting possibilities. The TSX and as well as some of the U.S. exchanges. So yes, those are ongoing discussions that we're having, and we'll look at that, at the appropriate time. But we are having those discussions actively.
Okay. Stage 2 of the Taifa deal assumes production starts in August 2026. How confident are you to meet that timing?
I think we're going to slip into the latter part of 26. Okay. Once we've completed the next few months of work, we will be able to publish an updated projected schedule. While we are on the phone, while we were on the call, our EPCM contractor bid just came in, so we'll be reviewing that over the coming days. But that work will be completed by year end, and we'll be able to provide an updated schedule at that point. But at this stage, I would expect first production out of Imwelo to come in the fourth quarter of 26.
On Tembo, do you get any technical support from Barrick?
So we have a data sharing agreement with them. So there is ongoing discussions on a continuous basis between both our technical teams.
Okay, can you comment on artisanal mining? Have you experienced that at any of the projects?
Um, there's been extensive artisanal mining at both projects and surrounding both projects. The way and let's be clear, because there's legal artisanal mining and then there's illegal artisanal mining. And the way artisanal mining works in Tanzania, not counting the legal stuff, because we manage that actively and it's the government's responsibility, and we work with the government to stop that as soon as it pops up. But Tanzania, the way claims work in Tanzania is you have a number of different types of claims. One of them are called primary mining licenses, which can only be owned by locals, and they're small little postage stamp things of 100 meters by 100 meters. But when we first acquired the Tembo project, I mean, there were hundreds of PMLs throughout the project. We have been acquiring them opportunistically, but there's still about a dozen. We acquire them and extinguish them, but there's still about a dozen of them left within our property boundary, where there is our ongoing artisanal activity that takes place. They provide really good exploration tools. I mean, at Tembo in particular, because the whole area is covered by anywhere from 3 to 10 meters of transported soils, we don't get any outcropping. So our first drill programs were designed by looking at the geophysics, where you get these distinct mag structures, which is typically associated with mineralization, as well as we did a LiDAR survey to see exactly where the artisanals were mining. And then you'll see a whole bunch of little shafts from anywhere from a couple hundred meters up to a kilometer in a line. Because what they do is they sink they mine the rubble zone, open pit, and then they sink these little shafts down to 10, 20, 30 meters, no more than 30 meters, and they'll all be in a line. So what we did was, we sampled the artisanal samples, and what we did was drill effectively underneath their workings. So they're, they can be an interesting exploration tool. At Imwelo, the area had extensive artisanal mining activity within the property boundaries. As part of converting the license from a prospecting license into a mining license, and there's compensation that needs to be paid through that process, which we've already done for the first 5 years of mine life. There was a relocation plan done for the artisanal miners because they were active, and they were given a little area where they can continue legally artisanally mining that was outside of the deposit areas. So artisanal mining is an ongoing fact and an issue and tool that one has to deal with in Tanzania. That was a long-winded answer to a simple question. I hope it clarified things, though.
Okay, I think this is the last question here, and it's, will there be a replay of this call? And yes, I can answer that. There will be a replay available shortly.
Yeah.
So with that, Mark and Simon, thank you so much for taking time to host this webinar with us.
Thank you for having us.
Terrific.
Just as a reminder for our audience, our next webinar will feature Aries Strategic Mining, and that's on October 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in with us, everyone. Have a great day.